Welcome back to the Modern Mastery Podcast, where we dive into the self-development and entrepreneurial journeys of those on the path of mastery. Today, I have Daniel, also known as Cold Email Wizard, who has an online education business for service businesses, 5 software companies, and an incredible amount of wisdom to give. On this episode, we discuss what it takes to create an irresistible offer, how Daniel built his software businesses, and how inexperienced people make the most noise. If you are a growth-minded individual that has skills, interests, or passions, have tried to turn them into a source of income but struggle to make it sustainable and predictable, consider joining Modern Mastery HQ, where you can copy and paste our hundreds of processes, strategies, and systems into your one-person business while working 4 hours or less per day. We've packaged up the information from myself, a marketing consultant, and Joey, a performance consultant, into proven processes for starting and growing your business as a coach, freelancer, digital product creator, content creator, or online educator while becoming a laser-focused machine. We offer a seemingly outrageous $50,000 guarantee because we are that confident in our teachings. If you want to build a one-person business, design your perfect lifestyle, and live like you are supposed to, go to join.modernmastery.co/podcast to get your first month for $5. Or if you want to skip all of the do-it-yourself stuff and join an intensive 6-month program that guarantees business and personal success, we also have the Mastery Program. You can apply for the next cohort at join.modernmastery.co/program. Links to both of those will be in the show notes. And last but not least, I have a few favors to ask that cost a whopping $0. So if you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe or follow. It's one button click away, and it helps support the growth of this podcast. 2, leave a rating letting us know what you thought. 3, you can tag us at Modern Mastery on Twitter or at Modern Mastery HQ on Instagram with a link to this episode and some kind words, or just some kind words. It always helps. And if you do all 3, send us a DM and we have something special for you in return. So without further ado, let's dive right into this episode of the Modern Mastery Podcast. All right, we're live. Brother Daniel, Cold Email Wizard. How are you doing today, man?
What's up, bro? I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. I'm excited for this just because I love your voice. Everyone loves your voice. Hopefully, I can ask some questions that get you to pop off and yell at the listeners. So
that might happen.
Maybe. I definitely have one that'll get you going. But we always start with the same thing. I kind of switched it around. For just this podcast, I want to test something. So originally, I would ask people, "What is your life philosophy in one sentence?" Right? But that can get it gets monotonous. It's all based around like growth. Just improve yourself, start a business, all that stuff. So, what is your personal philosophy in one sentence? You can take your time too.
Dominate at all costs.
What? Okay, that's new. Why is that? Why dominate?
So I think you need to have context with which, I guess, why I am the way I am, and I feel like everyone is obsessed with a particular thing, and I grew up with a we weren't like rich, but we definitely had money, right? And my parents were divorced, and my dad had more money than my mom. And I lived with my mom. My dad lived in New York. So what would happen is I would go to vacation in New York for Christmas and summer, and we go on like summer vacations and whatnot. And we would go do these extravagant things, like stay in really nice condos or hotels, and like he took us to Europe one time, and if you just make the logical connection, is what does it take to be able to do that? And the answer was just money, right? So the standard young dude who wants to be exactly like his dad is, I also want to have a family and be able to take on extravagant vacations and go out to dinner every night and do whatever you want, right? So from there it was, okay, the end goal is become like your father, right? That was the goal. So it's like, oh, well, what does my father have? Money. All right, so it was from the point I must have been like 5 or 6 years old, and you know how you make a wish on like the birthday candles, or you see like a shooting star, you make a wish, or you see an 1111, you make a wish. Every single one from the inception of I can remember was, I want to be rich. Every single one, because just for that one goal, I want to be able to do what I did as a kid, right? I don't want lifestyle to decrease. I want it to always be like that, right? So it's, if you're obsessed with something, you're just going to do anything it takes to get there, right? And now a lot of people might be like, oh, well, like making money is evil or something like that. But to acquire income and to receive money, somebody else has to give it to you. You're not the Fed, you can't print it. So somebody has to give it to you. And the only way someone will give you money is if what you give them in exchange for the money, they deem to be more valuable than the amount they give you, right? So by definition, by obtaining money, you are giving more value than what you are otherwise receiving. So you could sit here and say, oh, making money is evil and like billionaires are rich, but you can go on Amazon and get any item on earth delivered to your house within 24 hours. That's a tremendous amount of value for almost every human in the United States and a lot of other countries, right? So it's kind of hand in hand, where it's like if someone happens to have acquired a ton of money that wasn't given to them via their parents, then it's because they were in some fashion able to deliver value to a massive quantity of people. So it's not evil, right? And I don't know, it just depends what you're obsessed with. If you're obsessed with being ripped, you're going to go to the gym every day, 6 days a week, and you're going to eat healthy. It's like, what do you want? There's probably an intrinsic reason you want to be ripped, though, probably to attract the opposite sex, in which case you're just really horny. And that's your thing, but I mean, you're obsessed with something. And at one point, you will perish, you will die, right? And at the end of your life, you'll be like, when you think about it, like, what else is there to do? Like,
Right.
okay, you think money's cool. You think it'd be fun to have a bunch of money and go do a bunch of fun stuff. You think it would be fun to be ripped, right? Just like be really strong. It's fun. Like that's intrinsically kind of what it is. It's just fun, right? So what is the function of letting your life elapse without having accomplished that particular thing? There's nothing else to do. Like you're going to be bored. So you just do that.
Yes. No, it's mastery. That's exactly what we're all about here. And that's the common theme between every single person we see successful on whatever fucking social media. You know, the people that are making a lot of noise and have a lot of followers, it's usually because they're obsessed with something. They're trying to master something because they're just addicted to it. And it's the exact same thing as you said, is some people see that obsession as bad, but what the fuck else is there to do? If you're not going to master something that's beneficial to your life, then you're just going to sit around and follow all the platitude advice, or not advice, but like sit around, watch Netflix, do whatever, you know, not that there's anything wrong with that, but you're just going to be a fuck up in a sense.
I tweeted this the other day, and it was something along the lines of, cheap entertainment is probably the biggest atrocity to ever encounter man of all time. Because what happens is, if you sit there and you are just you have a phone and you have YouTube, you can be occupied to infinity.
Yes.
You're just doing something. You're never bored ever. Like it's impossible to be bored. So you don't have time to think, right? and you don't have time to, okay, mastery, getting ripped, making money, doing whatever you would otherwise like to accomplish, the calculated plans necessary to accomplish those goals are formulated while you are bored. And if you are never bored, you cannot formulate the plans.
That's fire. No, and it's what a lot of like the great advertisers say as well, because they do whatever they got to do. They focus, they get shit done, but then they have like scheduled, as J.K. Molina says, like fuck off time, where they go, they do whatever, they're bored, they lay out in the sun or just swim around in the pool, and that's when their best ideas come to them. And if you want to get psychological, it's like the subconscious default mode network that makes those pop into your head. So I want to go back to what you were talking about earlier in terms of value. You mentioned value, and value's thrown around a lot. How would you define value?
So if you need, I can use like two examples. If your desk chair, it just broke, and like the nearest Walmart is 30 miles away, and it's just going to be annoying to have to go to Walmart and pick up the desk chair. Or say it's like a desk, your desk broke, you can't put the desk in, you don't have a truck, it's a pain in the ass. So you're just going to go on Amazon and have a desk delivered to you within 24 hours, right? And it might be slightly more expensive to have that delivered via Amazon, but that is worth it to you in exchange for what you would otherwise have to do. Like, oh, I would have to call a friend, see if they're available to go take me to Walmart, and then load the desk into the truck and load it into the house, and I could just have someone deliver it to me in 24 hours. Sometimes it's like 6 hours, which is hilarious, right? So you have another thing. So there's like a course, right? So for instance, I have a course called Cold Email Mastery, right? And the value proposition is pretty simple. You take this, you will get a client within 60 days, and if you don't, you get the money back, right? So
Yes.
if someone is signing a $1,000 client, they're trying to sell like a $1,000, $2,000 service, and they don't know how to do that, but they have no clue how to do that. And then I present them information in a step-by-step handheld fashion, do exactly what I say, and it works. I've transmitted more value to you than is the $245 it cost. You spent $245, you made $2,000 minus the time exertion it took to accomplish that goal, right? So it's positive ROI on like time and capital, right? So sometimes it was in the case of the desk, it's you don't want to take the time to do that particular thing, right? And then another thing is like a course, for instance, or like a software. I have a bunch of software where it's like you could sit there on LinkedIn all day. Like you're trying to get people's email addresses so you can send them an email and send them your pitch. You can sit there on LinkedIn all day and like manually pick up the emails that you might get like 60 an hour, or you could just pay $97 for clean leads and scrape 1,000 of them in 20 minutes. Right? It's just it's an arbitrage in both time and capital. And you have to quantify the amount of, if you have $0, then like, yeah, go do some manual stuff. Like you can sit there and manually take the emails down. But you, at a certain point when you are making income, you need to start using leverage on time. And what that means is exchanging capital to purchase some of that time back. Right? And this is what people say when they're talking about like hire someone to clean your house or hire someone to make your meals. It's like if you're trying to eat healthy and you have to spend like an hour and a half, 2 hours cooking per day. And this is for people who don't enjoy cooking. If you enjoy cooking, it's a different equation, right? But say you
You
hate
liked my
cooking.
tweet.
Yeah, I did.
I like cooking.
If you like cooking, then like you you receive dopamine for the act of doing it, and it's a net positive. But if you don't like it, you're exerting energy that you don't want to exert on a task you don't want to do, right? So you could just buy that time back by purchasing food from Postmates or some meal service, right? It's just it's an arbitrage on. You're always any kind of product or service. It's either selling a capital ROI or a time exertion reduction. And that's basically it. You're either saving time or you're making money. That's almost every product or service on earth.
I like that a lot. And I want to talk about like protecting your time or like buying time or buying back your time later. So we've set the scene in terms of value, but let's take a step back to the humble beginnings of Cold Email Wizard. So where did this all start? Cold Email Wizard as a whole.
Yeah. So my very first agency I ran, but I'll give you some context. I graduated college, and a couple months after, I'm at a bar with. I always like sold stuff on the internet. Like I flipped items from China onto eBay. Got banned from eBay a couple times. But I was at a bar one time. One of my friends is talking about, hey, like I follow these guys on Instagram. They're driving Maseratis, and like they run this agency. This is when like Ty Lopez ads were like a thing, like 2018. So I'm like, oh, let me see them, and I follow them. And it's just, sometimes you just gotta not be stupid, right? If these dudes are driving Maseratis and they got a bunch of Instagram followers and appears as if they're making money, well, you can logically deduce then that the thing they're selling at the link in their bio is generating money, right? It's one-to-one. It makes sense, right? So I go to it and I'm like, what are you selling? They're selling Instagram growth. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to copy that. So now your next job is how do you actually fulfill upon the service? And this is when Instagram had the activity feed and you could see what people were doing. So I follow them and they're following people all day. So I'm like, oh, you're doing follow on follow, right? So now it's, well, how do I automate that? So go on YouTube, how to do follow on follow on Instagram, watch a bunch of videos. This one guy had a course on it because there was a software, it's called Jarvey. Don't think you could do this now. It doesn't work anymore. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. But so I bought his Jarvey course, and I was like, all right, now I know how to execute the service. But those guys I originally followed have a bunch of testimonials, and that's probably why they're able to get clients and people trust them with their Instagram password. So I went on Instagram. I picked a niche, was fitness coaches, because there's like 5 million of them on Instagrams, and I was like, all right, this is gonna be easy. So there's an email button. Some people put an email button on their Instagram business account. You just click the email button, you get the email. So I sat there all day, hashtag fitness coach, go down every single one, take all the emails, and I would offer to work for them for free to do the follow on follow for them. I got 5 people to do it, and I did that for free for 3 months until I was able to get a before and after screenshot of people's profiles. Put that on my landing page, and then I started doing the same thing to get paid clients. And then the copy of the email was basically like, hey name, and then like a personalized compliment in the first sentence. I've been working with at this person, at this person, at this person, at this person, like fucking all of them. Like, I took them from this many followers to this many followers. We're getting like 1,500, 2,000 followers a month. If you're interested, click this link. I wasn't doing phone calls for that. I was sending people to links. And I got that business to 76 from the moment I started with just to free people to getting clients. It took me like 2.5 months to get 76 clients. I was making like $12,000 profit a month, and I was 21. Like, fast. That's how important social proof is. It's the literal only thing that matters in the beginning. You just need social proof, and the moment you have it, just rocket ship. Like it's the only thing you need to be concerned with in the beginning. So then one day, wake up, Instagram algorithm change. This all the accounts are getting like temporarily blocked for doing follow on follow, and they were just blocked for doing it. So that business just done, destroyed. I was like, shit. So whole business has died overnight. I was like, damn, this sucks. So I was like, well, I just built this whole business with this mechanism of cold email.
Mm.
So why don't I just go sell the cold email system as a service to other businesses that are just like mine? So that's what I
Right.
did. I started cold emailing other marketing agencies and offering and saying like, hey, I built this business to this much using cold email. I think I can do the same for you because you have a similar offer. Right. And then that started going. And then what happened was I'm like diving into Russell Brunson stuff, just like understanding funnels. And I'm like, well, how do I kind of scale this? And I was on Twitter too. I hadn't made Cold Email Wizard yet. And I was like, well, people were making a shit ton of money selling stuff on Twitter. So I'll just make a cold email guide, and that's going to have the added bonus of some percent of people converting to a client. So I made Cold Email Wizard in May 2020, and turns out I'm like one of the best info product sellers on earth. It just sold a shit ton of cold email mastery and just got a shit ton of clients from it. But then what happened was you have to use all this software to send cold emails and like automate a lot of stuff. And what was happening is people were coming to me, they were like giving me like customer support questions for the software. So that told me like, oh, people are buying the software I'm telling them to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I might as well own the software. So that's what I spent December 2020 to December 2021 for a literal year, just making 5 software companies. Now I have 5 software companies. So it's this giant like behemoth of cold email related stuff where it's like if you are doing anything cold email, like I have a solution to the problem. Like I know what every single issue that is going to arise is, and I just made an offer for that. So it's like a giant circle. What happens is, and now I have all this software, and you like market each software individually, and then what happens is they come into the circle, and you just cross sell them the other things because they're all going to have the same issues eventually, right? Because they're all sending cold emails. They just came in at different points. So now you could just cross sell them everything.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I remember, like when I remember like when everyone first started out on Twitter. It's so fun to see like where all the different directions that people are going because yours is like vastly different from say like Matthew Pakes because
Yeah.
he's like all crypto now. He's fucking crazy crypto G. It's amazing to see. But this is something I've been trying to deduce. I like to take things meta or big picture or like the root of all of this stuff because people would love to see your results. That's why they buy your products. That's why they listen to this podcast. So have you ever taken like a step back to think what made you go down that rabbit hole? So when during that whole Ty Lopez period, when you saw them making money and some people do write that stuff off immediately as a scam. But instead, you did your due diligence. You looked at the link in bio. You had different thought processes. How do I put this? Can you attribute that to anything? Like that curiosity in a sense. What made you go through all of this instead of the average person on Instagram seeing the same thing and going through that? It may be too difficult.
I think there's a lot of like, particularly on YouTube, there's a lot of people who like CoffeeZilla, for instance, and he said some stupid shit before where it's like every course is a scam. And it's like, no. I literally learned almost everything I know from courses. Like that's what dove me down this, and like they worked for me, right? So what people see is they'll see like one person on Earth say like all courses are a scam, and now instantaneously every course is a scam, right? Because they can't think for themselves. So, courses are a scam. Never buys a course ever. Therefore, now you will quite literally never be subjected to specific knowledge. And what I mean by specific knowledge are intricacies of a particular mechanism or business, right? So, what happens is, say you're gonna run an agency, you're gonna sell a service, right? So you need to learn the client acquisition, you need to learn the fulfillment of the service, whatever you're doing, right? Say your service is Google Ads. You need to learn how to use Google Ads, right? So maybe you watch some YouTube tutorials, and some of those people have courses where you're like, I'm not buying your course, courses are a scam. So now what's gonna happen is you will never have the opportunity you watched a 20-minute you watched 20 minutes from this one person who taught you how to do something, and you won't buy their course because you just think it's a scam. So now what would otherwise be in their course, very extremely specific knowledge about running Google Ads, you're never gonna get, and you're gonna have to go through the exact same trials and tribulations as that person did, when you could have just paid like $200 to get all of it instantaneously, right? The only people who say courses are a scam are poor people. And if a rich person says courses are a scam, it's because they were by happenstance able to get a mentor for free. Maybe it was a family member, maybe it was somebody they met, right? But you don't. So stop being dumb and start paying people for specific knowledge, because you're never ever going to get it unless you're personally friends with them, or personally know them, or you purchase it with money. There is precisely zero way you're ever going to get the specific knowledge unless you do that.
Right. That was beautifully said too. I know like Naval, he's glorified big dude, but he's smart, and he talks about specific knowledge a lot. And I think your definition was beautiful about the the specific mechanism of a business to, etc. I'm going to go back and clip that. But let's talk about the software companies, because as we just talked about, if you're a newbie and you need to learn cold email to acquire clients, buy his course. Your cold email course is like the fucking best on Twitter, or possibly overall. I haven't kept up on other platforms, but like there's nothing we can say here that isn't in the course. So just go buy it. So in terms of the software companies, you said you have 5, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, a lot of people, myself included, hear that. They hear the word SaaS. They hear the word software company, tech company, and it's intimidating, right? Is it intimidating? Or should it be intimidating?
The only reason I own software companies is because I made friends with people who can code on Twitter. That's it. I don't know how to code. I can't do that at all. I'm a marketer, and that's all I do. So I'm a marketer. Right? So SaaS is a business model. It's not like it's not an offer. You don't just make a SaaS and sell it. Like, it doesn't work like that. The SaaS is just a type of way to solve a problem, right? And a SaaS is typically what you could otherwise do as a service business. So, for instance, say email sending platforms didn't exist, or LinkedIn scraping, like one of the ones I have, that didn't exist. So if that didn't exist, there would be a bunch of people running businesses where they sit and go grab emails for you all day and sell you the emails, right? But it turns out you can just code an automation for that, and then you sell access to the automation as a service, right? So, no, what typically happens is a lot of people will have an agency, and then they will have acquired a lot of money and capital from the agency. So they saved up a lot of money. So now what they could do is they can roll that capital into paying for developers to solve a particular issue that they themselves encountered, right? So if you look back on every offer I have right now, it's selling to a past version of myself, right? So Cold Email Mastery, the course, is selling the system of cold email to get clients, which I learned how to do because I needed to get clients for the first agency, right? And then it was LinkedIn scraping because I needed to scrape LinkedIn. And then it was scraping e-commerce brands with Contact Ecom because I needed to scrape e-commerce brands. There was automating email warm-up and sending emails because I needed to do that. That's Mailerize, right? There's writing personalized first lines automatically in the first sentence of an email. That's Quick Lines, right? There's scraping people who sell courses. That's Scrape Info. These are all things that at one point in time I personally would have purchased if it was available, right? And that's it. So you do. So this is what I tell people a lot. It's the first thing you do. Just go make a service business. Just sell a service. And a lot of people say they say, oh, make a marketing agency. But the thing you sell doesn't have to be marketing. Right? So like I can give you an example. I pay a dude to run intercom like for sales on one of my SaaSes. He'll answer customer support questions. He sells that to me as a service, and it's kind of not really marketing, right? So it's a I hate the word agency too. There's very bad context with that because there's a lot of agency courses. So I like the word service business. And I don't like specifying marketing in it because it's not always about marketing. It's just doing something that somebody would pay to not have to do. That's it.
That's fire. Okay, so would you say the same thing for niches outside of not make money online, but outside of like business stuff? So for like health or mindset, performance, etc.
Yeah, if there's a specific issue you can solve, and this is what people, I see this a lot. It's like I literally, in one of my courses, there's an add-on in Cold Email Mastery called Video Sales Letter Mastery, and I tell people inside of it, I'm like, hey, send me your video and your landing page, and I'll give you some feedback on it. And somebody sent me one today, and it was the offer, like the value proposition within it was like increase your productivity, grow your business. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, what does that mean? Increase your productivity. Like, in what? And what does that do? Like, and then I'm going through this whole video, and there's no specification as to what exactly he does. So it's like, oh, we'll handle your customer support, and we'll do some of your marketing. Like, what does that mean? Some of your marketing. Like, what is that? What specifically are you doing? And what specific outcome is that going to result in? And this is kind of what people do. And so you need to quantify it. Where it's like if you're selling a productivity consulting or whatever, productivity in what? Like in business? Okay. Okay. So what is it going to do then? Like, or is it going to result in them making more money or spending, or is it teaching them how to automate specific tasks? Is it teaching them how to hire people to do specific tasks? And you need to be specific about what exactly it is you're going to do and exactly what's going to happen as a result of what you're selling. Right? So it's like, okay, say increase your productivity, right? Okay, well, how are you doing that? Oh, you're going to build a whole bunch of Zapier flows to do all this stuff that they were otherwise manually doing in the first place. All right? So what's that going to result in? Probably 5 extra hours per week. That's it. This is what people do. They don't quantify anything. And the worst one of all time, I hate these people. I shit on them all the time on Twitter because they're so annoying. It's the web designers. I hate them. It's the laziest offer of all time. Oh, it'll make you a pretty website. Bro, nobody cares about your pretty website with your ridiculously slow load time animations and then they'll make a website and like the banner is the logo, like welcome to X website. Like, yeah, thanks. I knew that when I typed it in the URL bar. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So if you're selling web design, you have to do it for the function of delivering a quantifiable result, right? So what is typically what people are looking for when they are looking for website design? It is an increase in conversion rate of whatever action you're trying to get the visitor to take, right? So it's probably a purchase or an opt-in, right? And that's it. So your website redesign's only function is to increase conversion rate, right? So people always be like, they'll be like, I'm having a really hard time selling my websites. And I'm like, well, what does your website do? They're like, oh, well, here's my portfolio. I'm like, oh, okay. Your website doesn't do anything. You just took a Webflow template and just resold it to someone. You think you're going to make like $20K a month off this. Like, it's not happening. Like, no one cares about this. Is it, particularly if you are selling to cold traffic? If you've got like a whole giant audience and you're trying to sell web design, like, it's warm traffic and they already know, like, and trust you, so you can get away with that. But if you're trying to sell this to cold traffic, it's not happening. Like, it's not. You think it is, but it's not. Right? It's the laziest offer of all time. I'll make your website. I hate it. So now you need a guarantee. So you have an offer. You make a quantification of exactly what is going to happen when somebody purchases this. Has to be quantified, right? And then you're going to make a guarantee that they will achieve the quantification, right? So your conversion rate will go up to 2% within a month, or you pay nothing, or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And now what's going to happen is people hear that and they're like, well, what if I can't fulfill the promise? Well, then you give the money back. Yeah. Right? And then it's like, and then they'll say, well, I don't want to give the money back. And I'm like, well, then you're scamming. Like, that's quite literally what you're doing.
Right.
And a lot of the times, I'll put a caveat on that is that if you make a very concerted effort to communicate with the client and say something goes wrong with something, and you tell them about what went wrong and what you're going to do to correct that, what happens is if you fall short of your promise, they actually won't even want to execute the guarantee because they respect you. And this kind of ties back to the fact that people don't sue doctors they like. Like, right. Ever. Oh. So if they just like you, then that actually saves you, right? There's another big problem with a lot of people. If they're new, they'll lie about how much experience they have. Because, like, for instance, earlier I was telling you about how I got the 3 people on Instagram, and I was working with them 5 people on Instagram, working with them for 3 months. And they're like, oh, I'm just going to skip that. I'm just going to lie and speak as if I have clients. Yeah, good luck when you encounter someone who asks a specific question. 1, you haven't bought courses for specified knowledge. 2, you haven't executed anything you're trying to sell to personally acquire specific knowledge. And now a prospect is going to ask you a specific question, and you're not going to know the answer to it, and you're going to look an idiot because you've worked with nobody ever. Right? So, in general, just be honest and quantify your promise and make a guarantee behind it. And it's so funny because if you just do that, it never doesn't work. Ever. There's not a singular situation on earth where that doesn't work. Ever. Like, I've been seeing this ad all the time. And it's, our appointment setters will get you 40 appointments in a month or you pay nothing. I've seen the ad legitimately 35 times in the past month, right? Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? It means it works because they keep paying to show the ad. And it probably has something to do with the offer. Because there is a quantification and there is a guarantee that they will receive that promised result. Mm-hmm. That's why it works. There is literally no other reason besides it's not that there's no magic ad set, a magic image the ad uses. Like there's no magic Facebook ad hack that makes that work. It's the offer. Like look at Alex Hormozy. Look at his website, acquisition.com. It looks like shit. He makes like $60 million a year. Like this is, and if you look at it, another one of his businesses, Gym Launch, there's no main website. It's all funnels on ClickFunnels, and they look like shit. And he prints money because the offer is so good. And that goes back to me hating web design guys because they're like, oh, no one's going to trust you if you don't have my $10,000 pretty website. It's like, bro, grow up. Like, you don't know anything.
Yes. Okay, so everyone knows that I used to be the web design guy, and that's still a part of the community. Like I give that course away just for people that join because it's good to learn, like just how to build a website. But then the thing that people glance over, and maybe this is on me, maybe some of those web design guys on Twitter are a byproduct of me, but I make it very clear in the ebook along with it on how to actually sell the service that web design itself does not sell. That's a commodity service. Like it's just a pretty website. Cool. If you want to create one for yourself for the sake of a blog, awesome. But when it comes to other people, I talk about a lot of the stuff that you talked about here. But I have two questions. First one, relating to this, how has your TikTok experience been so far?
Oh, that's fun. So I paid Kaz and Shaw to do that for me. And they'll write the scripts, and I voice them over with this like little microphone I have here, and I just send them the audio files, and then they edit it. And I have never in my life seen such an astronomical amount of organic traffic in such a short period of time. It's insane. You get so many views and followers. It's honestly ridiculous. I haven't been able to track it properly yet, but I will because me and Andre and Christian and Dan. I don't even know Christian and Dan, but you know Andre Heichel. We have a coaching program, and I'm going to start selling that instead of Code Email Mastery on TikTok. So I can kind of track it better, but it's just higher ticket, so it just makes more sense. But yeah, that's fun. But there's here's the thing. People who are stupid are very loud.
Yeah.
and people who are successful are quite often very quiet. So what happens is you'll be on TikTok and you'll get a bunch of comments about like business from people who very plainly, obviously have never sold anything in their life. And they'll try to give advice. They're like, this is bad advice. To which my response is, you are actually stupid. And you have no clue what you're talking about. And the fact it is actually hazardous for somebody who's interested in business to look at your comment. You're so stupid. And then the people who are successful, and they'll hear what I say and they'll be like, "Yep," but they won't comment. Right. They're too busy. They're not gonna sit there and I mean, some people will comment like, "Yeah, you're right." But there was when I first started, I made a video that said no one cares about pretty websites, and so many people, which broke boys, were like, no, this is bad advice. And one guy in particular just kept talking shit. Like he just kept talking shit. So I was like, all right, I'm whipping out the screenshots. So I just opened up all the Stripe accounts, and I pulled up just 2 of the sasses, just 2, that have like kind of not nice websites. And I was like, look at this shitty website. It makes $260,000 a year. I'm like, look at this shitty website. This makes $172,000 a year. And it's funny because then he keeps talking shit on that video when I reply to him, and I'm like, do you make $400,000 a year from SaaS? Like, I make quite literally 10 times your yearly income doing precisely nothing with these websites. You don't know what you're
Right.
talking about. So after I made that video, the quantity of idiot comments stopped. Because it was kind of like they might see a video and be like, no, I don't agree with that. People like kind of an idiot, but then they scroll down and they see like the thumbnail of one of the videos is like a $256,000 Stripe screenshot, and then if you watch it, it's another 172 one. So they probably at that point are like, oh, never mind. So they become more quiet.
That was so funny, man. I don't have TikTok, but I downloaded TikTok to go watch that video because I knew it'd be fucking hilarious. But no, that's so good.
It's actually incredible how many stupid people commented on that video.
I don't get it, man. I don't get it much on Twitter. I've been pretty generic lately, so I am not really sparking any discussion. But it's the whole. I read this recently in The Way of Zen by Alan Watts, where it's like there's the Buddhist quote of like those who know don't say, those who don't know say a lot. Same exact saying. So completely agree. So for those listening, one, don't pay attention to the comments at all because it's not the original person. I was watching like an actualized .org lecture the other day, and all of the comments are focusing on one thing when it's like completely different from what he's saying. And I noticed it start to suck me in because of your negativity bias. That's just the rabbit hole you go down, and you start to lose trust in the original person. And then I watched the video and it's like he wasn't saying anything related to that. So it can be pretty fucking destructive if you actually let that suck you in and immediately write it off. It's what we talked about earlier with the whole, once you write something off as a scam, like there's no opportunity presented from that creator anymore. So like people that take that those two little fucking words, bad advice, to heart, and they don't know what you have to offer, like on the back end or anything, because they only see what's on social media. That's another thing, is like social media content is heavily curated in most forms. It's nothing close to what they're going to learn on, like in the back end, in the courses, all the specific knowledge, in the coaching. It's attention grabbing shit. How do I string this together? Okay. Let's take it back to what we were talking about with the like you have 5 software businesses. I remember you talking about this at one point in terms of income streams, because you hear all of this fucking advice. You wrote a tweet about this, but there's common advice of, oh, you need to build 8 billion income streams if you want to be rich, or whatever that piece of advice is. What is the misconception there?
So like if you make $0 from one business, it's not a good idea to go make another business, right? Because here's what typically happens is you'll hit a wall kind of at like 5 to 6K a month, and then you'll hit another wall at like 11K to 12K, and then you'll hit another one at like 25, and then another one at like 60, and then another one at like 110. Like just around, it's not exact, but it's just around there. So if you take a business to 6K a month, and you're like, oh, let me go open another one, you are only capable of getting that one to 6K a month as well. You are not equipped with the knowledge necessary to break past that wall and get to the next wall. So the problem when you make multiple entities is that you are never breaking past a wall that will ultimately be necessary for you to break past. Right?
Right.
So it's very easy to have like 4 businesses that make 5K a month, right? That's not hard. And people do it just to say, oh, I own I own 5 businesses. I'm CEO of Dropship Titans and CEO of Trading Empire Fags and just like stupid shit like that. Um, and but another note, don't ever call yourself a CEO unless you're like a publicly traded company. You look like an asshole.
I agree.
So dumb. But I've made this mistake too. I've made too many different things. But mine's kind of different because they're all different LLCs, they're all different entities, but it's all the same funnel. It's all the same thing. So if one person goes into one of them, they will more than likely also, there's a very high probability they'll buy another one. So mine is a bit different, but if you make an e-com brand and an agency, and then another agency and another e-com brand, it's not particularly a good idea because you're working with different niches. That's what it is. So the reason why, so let's take a lead generation agency as an example. What will typically happen is they will eventually only work with one niche. That's normally what happens with, like, you're an advertising agency, you only work with e-commerce brands. Or you're an advertising agency who only works with people who sell info products. Or you're one who only works with people who sell SaaS, right? And the reason why is because when you go to a different niche, you have to figure out that niche, right?
Right.
So my niche is people who sell services, B2B services. And all of my offers are for that singular niche. That's it. There's no other niche that I sell it to. So someone comes to me and software is also services, right? So it's very wide. It's a very large net. So someone who runs a software business or someone who runs an agency, if I ever encounter one of them ever, and I have the solution to every single problem. So I'm able to sell you something. So mine's a little different. So if you are going to make multiple entities, do it only because you see low-hanging fruit. And my low-hanging fruit was that people were buying Cold Email Mastery and they were buying the software. So I was like, oh, I could just make this software and not actually do anything to make more money. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason with which those exist. Right? So if you have an e-com brand right now, don't make another e-com brand. Like, unless you're going to sell one, just put all of your effort into growing the original e-com brand. Because another thing is, if you ever have plans to sell your business, the multiples increase with the more money you make. So it gets double amplified. So say you're able to sell a business that makes $1 million a year at a 4 times multiple. If you happen to take it to $10 million a year, you might be able to sell it for like a 9x multiple. So you are making, every additional dollar you make per year is 9 times in value as opposed to 4 times in value, right? So the returns get amplified to an extremely massive degree if you just focus it on one entity.
Beautiful. I like it. And it's kind of like all of this stuff we're saying, not all of it, but a lot of it is common sense, right? Because as you see, it's just being like aware of what's going on. And in this case, like, you're starting software companies or just businesses in general to solve problems that sparked from your original offer, from that original top of funnel offer, and it costs more money, or there's more money flowing for the people that are actually making money from what you initially taught them. And other people can come in that need the software even if they didn't buy your course. So it's smart, and kind of what I plan on doing with like the whole like relaunching the planner. I want to start a SaaS eventually, but I don't know what it would be. Maybe some like productivity shit, but specific, not productivity shit, but like relating to the process that I'm teaching people, and like paying very close attention to what's going on in the community, because they're all using all these different software and all this different stuff. There's a lot of opportunity. But here's one question for you. So I've heard, and this is just out of curiosity, I've heard or seen on Twitter from like SaaSwiz and etc. Should I get caught up in my head about not selling a super or like a mid-ticket SaaS? I don't even know if you call it mid-ticket, but like above 99 a month. Is there any reason for me to go and sell like a $5 a month app per se?
If it's that low, sell it on yearly only.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's too low. It
probably wouldn't be that low, but I'm always curious about that stuff.
Yeah, it's just too low. But no, so I have like Mailerize, that's $39 a month, and the MRR just keeps going up. And I don't even make a concerted effort to market that business in any fashion whatsoever, and it just keeps going up. Because the churn is lower when it's low ticket. So like I'll give you for instance, like the churn on Contact Ecom, the Contact Ecom plans are $145, $235, and $300 and something dollars. And the churn is like 42%. But the LTV, the lifetime value of each customer, the average customer spends like $690.
Nice.
So now you could sit there and you could look at like Mailerize. You could have like, or another SaaS has like a 5% churn, but it's like $30 a month. They would need to retain a customer for 2 years to get the same amount of money from the customer as I did in 2 months. Right?
Yeah.
So it's absolutes. So you are in the business of making money, not in the business of having a low churn number. Like it doesn't matter how you make the money. Obviously, you want a lower churn, but like Contact Ecom is a database SaaS. You extract like 2,000 leads. You don't need 2,000 more leads for a long time. Like That's just how it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we're closing in on time, but I want to end with some practicality, because we're talking software businesses and shit. And I know I said that people can just buy your course, but I want like an enlightened and experienced version of this step-by-step process, because you see it on Twitter a lot, where it's like learn a skill, sell the skill, et cetera, et cetera. If you could give a step-by-step process to 10K a month, would you? And what would it be?
Yeah. Give me. I want to think of an offer. I'll use this because I really like this business. It's making TikTok ad creatives as a service, and you basically what you would do is it's for e-commerce brands, right? So what you would do is get a product. You contact TikTok influencers. You send them. I think there's a thing on TikTok to do like a creator contact or whatever. Too, people can like say they'll do that, and then you can like contact them. So you send the product to them. They make a video, and then you can run that video as a Facebook ad. That's UGC, user generated content, and converts massively well, right? So if someone's running Facebook ads for the ecom brand, someone makes a TikTok video for them. Bam, like good ad. And you would sell those ads as a service for anywhere from like $300 to like $400 or $500 each, right? And now what's particularly nice about this business is ideally you have an upsell where you actually run the ads as well, right? So now you can sell this service to two different entities. You could sell it directly to an e-commerce brand who does their own ads, or you could sell it to an agency who does ads for e-commerce brands, right? You could, and what's nice about the agency side is that you can bulk sell like big deals where it's like, hey, I'll give you 40 videos for $200 each instead of 400, right? And then the nice part about selling to the e-com brands directly is that you can upsell ads as a service, right? So say that's your business, right? So let's
Yep.
take let's take one of those two markets. Let's do the agencies. We're gonna go try to sell it to the agencies so you could bulk sell the creatives as a service. I would use Clean Leads. You download the Chrome extension, and then you go into LinkedIn. You don't need a LinkedIn Premium, and you would quite literally put inside of the search bar marketing agency. And then you go to an advanced filter and title CEO or all capital, founder or owner, and services offered. Check the box advertising. I would also put in the search box the word e-commerce. And then what you would do is you just have the Clean Leads Chrome extension scrape all of them. So now what you want to do is the copy of the email is hey name and then a personalized sentence. You can automate the personalized sentence with quicklines.ai. And then what I would say in the body of the email is quick question. So this is to marketing agencies. Quick question, do any of your e-com clients need UGC content? We can get TikTok influencers to make some for you. That's it.
That's good.
And it's such a good offer because it's a very good offer. So I would expect somewhere between like a 4 to 5% meeting book rate on that. So if you send 100 cold emails, you should get 4 to 5 meetings. If that was your offer, this is not as simple. People would think like if they hear the word 4 to 5% meeting book rate and they think it has everything to do with like the email deliverability and where to scrape your list and like no, you can't. Like that's not going to work if you just sell straight up Facebook ads. Like it's not working, not happening. Like it's not. It's right. The most competitive offer of all time. There's more people who sell Facebook ads than sell like any other offer combined. Like it's ridiculous. So say your ultimate goal is to actually sell Facebook ads as a service, then what you would do is sell a small offer like UGC as a service, and then while you're on the call with them, you upsell the Facebook ads. That's the only way this works right now. It's straight up the only way. Unless you are referred. That's how you convert cold traffic to get advertising clients. It works. That's to get a lot of clients. It works a lot better. But that's an offer I would sell is the UGC ads as a service.
That's interesting. Would you recommend doing that like low barrier to entry offer to start and then upselling in like on Twitter? So for example, let's take like the web designers, right? A lot of what I've been pushing people down a lot is some kind of like coaching client acquisition funnel for a decent amount of money. So it's like a landing page, some form of opt-in or qualification, or there's different pieces there, but then emails on the back end to raise up customer awareness levels and get them on a call, right? And then you have their information, you can follow up with them. But that when you're building that audience, that initial audience, or even an audience as a whole, people get caught up in the whole general versus niche audience thing. And a lot of them go the general audience, which I don't think is a huge problem. But let's say if they go the general audience route, and they are attracting a decent amount of coaches or wannabe coaches, would you recommend going that like $250 to $500 offer and then upselling that funnel?
So like their ultimate goal is to sell a high ticket coaching program?
Yes. And that may not have made sense. I'm not even talking in terms of this specific offer, but like as a whole.
So I have an extremely unique situation in that I have software, right? So that's why I keep selling Cold Email Mastery, because it shows you all the software too. That's a funnel into the software. But I also have a coaching program, which is high ticket. right? So but given the choice between directing someone to cold email mastery and directing someone to client ascension, which is the coaching program, which is more high ticket, I make more money from client ascension aggregately, right? Even if they bought all the software, I'll still make more money if you go to client ascension.
Right.
So it makes sense to put people to client ascension, but at the same time, if someone subscribes to a SaaS, that increases the intrinsic value of that business, that gets a higher multiple. So that multiplies even more, right? So you see, it kind of gets very iffy in mine. And I know you're probably stating that specific question because I have a course that is exactly $245 and I have a coaching program that is exactly high ticket, right? So it makes sense. If I would, I believe if you don't have software, I would, you probably want like a lower ticket kind of thing, not like 250, just definitely lower, and then like your high ticket is the coaching, something like all I know is that Chris Johnson prints money with like $40.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
that's all I know.
Yeah. No, that's been one of the biggest mind fucks for me, because there's always, I mean, there's so many different fucking angles for the advice that people are giving, but the whole like, oh, don't sell a low ticket product, and you see Chris Johnson, or don't sell a Gumroad product, or don't discount them, and it's like there's some nuance there, because Chris Johnson is discounting like every day, and he's still very authoritative and very, like, people respect him. I don't think it takes much away from his products.
Yeah,
But then again, he has huge audience.
here's the thing: you have to go high ticket, and I learned this from Alex Becker and like Dan Henry and like all these guys who are just obscenely rich. Every single one of them sells a high ticket offer, so you could logically deduce then that the way to get rich is to sell a high ticket offer, right? Mm-hmm. So let's put this in numbers in terms of like cold traffic. Let's say you're trying to sell, and this could be an agency service as well. So anything that is like $6,000 or more, right?
Right.
Let's say someone has a $200 course versus a $10,000 coaching program. Mm-hmm. The difference between getting, if you're selling a $200 course, the difference between getting a $100 cost per acquisition, this is if you're running ads. The difference between a $100 acquisition and a $180 acquisition is a massive proportion of your margins. If you are selling a $10,000 offer, the difference between a $100 acquisition and a $2,000 acquisition does not matter.
Yeah.
It's difficult to fuck up. You have to try to not make money. It's way too hard. When the product is so much money, it is actually impossible to lose money. And that's why everybody does it now. And that's why you see a lot of software companies will only sell yearly deals. It is, even considering the decrease in conversion rates, like, yeah, your conversion rate is going to be way lower with it being $10,000 versus it being $200. But the sheer quantity of a one-time influx of that amount of capital, it's way too hard to not make money. It's actually difficult. Like it's impossible. You have to be so astronomically stupid to not make money. And that's why everyone does it. And that's why stupid people make money doing it. Because you can't lose money.
Makes sense. But cool, man. That was a fucking great podcast. I enjoyed all of those talking points, and I know the listeners will get a lot out of it. So, Daniel, thank you for coming on.
Thanks, brother.
I wish you the best of luck in those 5 software businesses and possibly more. Oh no, I read your tweet. You're going all in on those. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it all goes, because you want to be I believe by your own words, the greatest fucking marketer in the world.
Yep.
So I'm here for the journey, man. I'm excited for it. But before we go, where can people find you, and what can people buy from you?
Twitter, Black Hat Wizard, or you could search Cold Email Wizard in the bio. It'll come up. If you want to get clients for a service business, then Cold Email Mastery for sure. And then you can check out the other software at the link tree in my bio. That'll like show you all that stuff.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have the link tree and courses. We'll have all of that in the description, so you can go there. But give Daniel a follow, and thank you again for coming on, man.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you so much for listening to that episode of the Modern Mastery podcast. I have a few favors to ask you. For a whopping $0, you can support this podcast by following, rating, and subscribing on whichever platform you are listening on. For an additional $0, you can share this podcast and tag us at Modern Mastery on Twitter or at Modern Mastery HQ on Instagram. This helps the Modern Mastery community grow and allows me to bring you top-tier guests to fuel your hunger for wisdom. It costs $0, but it does cost you your time, and we understand how valuable that can be. Lastly, if you are trying to build a one-person business as a content creator, coach, freelancer, digital product creator, or online educator, consider joining Modern Mastery HQ that has hundreds of proven processes, strategies, and systems that you can copy and paste into your life and business to become a highly paid, free, and fulfilled individual. Go to join.modernmastery.co/podcast to get your first month for $5 and gain instant access to 4 beginner legacy courses, hundreds of trainings and strategies, and a community of growth-minded individuals, because quite frankly, your friends and family just don't understand this kind of stuff. With that, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Modern Mastery podcast, and I'll see you in the next one.